Welcome to the Elk Grove Unified School District Board of Education meeting today. The board did meet in closed session, and it was unanimous approve appointment of the following administrator: Sophia Fojas, a director of visual arts, performing arts, visual and performing arts. Finally. Today's meeting is being video recorded and will be available on the district's YouTube channel. And the blue cards are available on the table outside to my right here if anyone wishes to address the board. If you wish to address the board, complete a card and hand it to the staff member to my right. And be sure you indicate which matter you would like to address that's on the agenda or not on the agenda. We're going to start off with the pledge today, and I'd like to call on Mr. Mate, give him something to do, come out. And
All right. A speech too? Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody.
I want to call on Rod Edmondson for the athletic recognition. And would you want to go down? Mr. Forcina will help out on that. Oh, he's FaceTiming a kid that can't be here.
Not gonna miss it.
That's smarter. That's yeah.
Good evening, President Madison, members of the school board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos. Tonight I am honored to introduce you to several special athletes from the Monterey Trail High School track and field team. This team won the section championships this year and several other events. The boys 4x400 meter relay team were Masters champions, and Zachary Larrier was the Masters champion in the boys 400 meter dash. This team finished second overall in the CIF State Track and Field Championships. This is the highest finish ever for an Elk Grove Unified High School team. The boys 4x100 meter relay team won the state championship, and they are only the second team in the Sac Joaquin region to win this event in the last 20 years. Zachary Larrier won the state championship in the boys 400 meter dash. Zach became only the third regional runner to win the state championship in the 400 meter dash in 101 years. The last regional winner in the 400 meter dash was in 1975, 44 years ago. It is an honor for me to introduce the coach and athletes from the Monterey Trail High School track team who won the Masters and state championships. Now, a special note, Zachary Larrier, who was a part of 2 state championships this year and also Masters, can't be with us tonight. Zachary received a football scholarship to the United States Air Force Academy, and he had to report to the academy earlier this week. But Coach does have Zachary on FaceTime with us because he didn't want to miss this. So first I'd like to introduce the Master Champions, and Coach Robert Longan is the coach, and he guided them to the Masters and to the state championship. Coach, get your certificate. And the athletes that were in the 4x400 meter relay team that won Masters was Prophet Brown, who could not be with us tonight, Camden Wheeler, William Bubba Eccles, Zachary Larrier, who cannot be with us, and Jahil Budget. And the boys 400-meter dash, the master champion was Zachary Larrier. State champions for the team was the 4x100-meter relay. We have Andre Crump, who could not make it tonight, Prophet Brown, who could not make it tonight, Camden Wheeler, who was on the 4x100-meter relay, and Zachary Larrier, who is at the Air Force Academy. And Zachary was also a state champion in the 400-meter dash. You know, it's kind of a real privilege, because when I read the beginning paragraphs about the team, this team accomplished something that no other team in our district's history accomplished ever. And for Zachary to win a state championship and only be the third one in our region in 101 years, that's pretty special. So, Coach, you had a great season this year, and outstanding. And I think, is it Camden? Camden, and I forgot to mention, Camden's only a sophomore. He was here last year as a freshman. And in the 400-meter dash that Zachary won this year, as a sophomore, Camden placed 5th in the States. So a lot of talent at the Monterey Trail track team. So congratulations, everyone. Coach, you want to say something?
Starters, I just want to say thank you guys for bringing us here. I've been coming to this thing a lot of years. We've been doing a lot of great things at Monterey Trail High School in the track and field program. And I always like to convey how much we appreciate you guys allowing us to come here. I'm sorry all 6 kids couldn't make it. One's in San Jose State orientation. Zach's at Air Force Academy, where he's also actually going to run track. He wants to be an aspiring Olympian as well as an NFL athlete potentially in the future. Phenomenal human being. Jahal Budget at UC Davis playing football. The state meet was so phenomenal beyond El Grove High School. It was Sacramento, San Joaquin County, everything together, history, legacy, building. Third 4x1 team in the history of Sacramento, San Joaquin section to win it in 101 years. Zach, the first dude in 44 years. The greatest thing was the kids knew they were going to do it. Like Sacramento kids, El Grove High School district kids don't have success at the California State Track Championships. And our kids said Friday night that they were going to change that. They told each other if they do a little bit more to put the best athlete in state history potentially in a position to put us there, it was going to happen. And then Saturday afternoon, we watched exactly what they said they were going to do, and they won that thing for us. They made history. They made Monterey Trail High School more than just a high school. We're legacy building. Forthright in changing history. You know, making Sacramento bigger than what everybody else believes we are. And we put ourselves out there. We did it for El Grove High School District. We did it #1 for Monterey Trail High School. For our student athletes, it's amazing. And again, I just thank you guys for allowing us to be here. I hope I come back here for 10 more years. All of it was good to know. Yeah, so it's fun to find it all, Monterey Trail. Yeah, you can find it on YouTube. You can find it all over Twitter. I run our Twitter page. It's all over our whole Twitter page. Yeah, there was nothing that El Grove High School District had ever done that. It was great to do it for that. They walk up to every other Sacramento area school and they say, we did it for you. It's not everybody. And the greatest thing on top of it was, after they ran, the kids went back to the tent and they played a video game on their cell phones about track and field. They were fully invested. It was amazing. Thank you.
All right. Take it to go.
Can I have Zach in?
Thanks. Thank you, Coach.
Mr. Edmondson. Yeah, parents, come on up if you want to take some photos of the kids. Mr. Edmondson, she's getting in there. Is it possible, and Miss Pinkerton as well, since this was an unusual accomplishment with our display out in the front there, is it possible we can put the trophy out there with all the kids' pictures out there for a couple of months to just display of the fine accomplishments. This is something really unusual in our district in terms of athletics. Is that possible?
I'm good with that.
Yeah, and Mr.
Talking about the track trophy?
Yeah, we can just,
Put it back yet. Dave's been asking for that thing. I was like,
who's asking you for it?
RC,
Who's asking you for it?
Coronado at Monterey Trail. Are you gonna bring the
Okay.
trophy this year?
Yeah, if we can, Mr. Hoffman, if we can display it, maybe figure out a way that the public can see it, the fine accomplishment of these young men, and that we can have their pictures there. I know a lot of them are off into their next journey, but it's something that was a tremendous accomplishment here.
I do have some phenomenal pictures of that group that are really highlighted.
That would be great if we could see that as the public comes in. Thank you.
All right, young man. Everybody.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Okay, we want to call on Ms. Tammy Silvera on the LGBTQ Pride Month resolution.
All right. Board President Madison, board members, Superintendent Hoffman and Ms. Avalos, hello. Despite the introduction, once again, my name is Tammy Silvera. I'm the program specialist for our Youth Development Office and Student Support and Health Services. I'm going to say the word pride a lot because this past year has been a year with a lot of moments to be proud of. I'm honored here to be here today to present the proclamation to honor June as Pride Month in the Elk Grove Unified School District. This past year and a half, the Youth Development Office, in collaboration with some amazing Elk Grove Unified teachers, staff, administrators, community partners, and also internal other department partners, have made some huge strides in supporting our LGBTQ students. The catalyst for some of these most recent efforts was receiving a generous grant from the Kaiser Permanente Mental Health and Stigma Reduction Initiative, and I'm happy to announce that we've also received a second year of funding going into 2019-20, so we're really, again, very proud of that. As a result of this grant, we have been able to increase the number of Gay-Straight Alliance clubs so that starting next fall, all of our secondary campuses will have a GSA, including 2 of our continuation high schools, and we're just working to recruit a couple advisors at Los Flores and our third continuation high school. We also have a number of elementary schools that are really interested in starting GSA programs as well. We have also hosted and facilitated LGBTQ awareness training for almost 900 people this year, and that's not just staff. We've had community members be a part of our training as well, and again, we're really proud of that. We also held our first ever youth summit for LGBTQ student leaders. It was right here in this room. This whole space was covered with rainbow flags. They had a great time sitting in your chairs. And earlier this month, a group of staff, young people, families, and board members represented our district proudly at the 2019 SAC Pride Parade, vocally and visibly showing our support for the LGBTQ community, and that speaks volumes. One of my big learning moments this year from the students that we worked with is it is so very important to them that they see explicit demonstrations of our support. They go into every classroom and every school looking for, is this a safe space for me? And when we show up at Pride and when we have this proclamation, I think that's pretty explicit that we are supportive. So I've been asked, since this is our first ever Pride Month parade, to read this, if you would indulge me. Whereas the core values of the Elk Grove Unified School District include providing a safe, peaceful, and healthy environment for all students and staff, and supporting collaboration with diverse communities and families. And whereas Elk Grove Unified School District celebrates the accomplishments of LGBTQ people and works to create a respectful, caring, and inclusive culture for all within the school district and community. And whereas lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer Pride Month is currently celebrated each year in the month of June. And whereas Pride Month honors the 1969 Stonewall Uprising in Manhattan and celebrates the many contributions of LGBTQ individuals, respecting the talent, creativity, and positive impact to our communities. Therefore, the Elk Grove Unified School District proclaims the month of June 2019 to be LGBTQ Pride Month, and will honor and highlight the identities and contributions of EGUSD LGBTQ students, staff, and families. Pride Month will provide an opportunity to combat bullying, harassment, and discrimination based on real or perceived sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. By recognizing Pride Month, this district supports the policies, practices, and curricula that honor and respect LGBTQ students, staff, and their families. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I want to call for a motion to adopt Resolution 70, which proclaims the month of June 2019 as the LGBTQ Pride Month.
So moved.
Second it?
Been moved in second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Can I just say a couple of words, Mr. Madison?
Yes, ma'am.
As one of the board members that participated, it was wonderful to be there as a collective, to be there in unity. I know that it meant a lot to our families and our faculty and staff. It was quite a special day. So because we're on summer break, how do we intend to share this when the school comes back? Do we have anything in mind when school actually comes back in session? Because I want all of our students and staff to be able to benefit from this great resolution, since it's our first time.
Chris or me? We did let all of our advisors know, even though they were on break,
Yeah.
that this was happening tonight. And many of them responded from points beyond that they are thrilled to see this happen. And then we will pick up the task as soon as school starts to start those efforts with our GSA programs and so on. So a lot more to follow.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, request for return from student expulsion. I'm going to call for a motion to approve the request for a return from student expulsion. It's been moved and second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay. Public comment. Carol Rogers.
Hi, I'm Carol Rogers. I usually come up here as a member of the Village Advocates, and I've been boots on the ground at Cosumnes Oaks this past year, particularly lunch monitor. And while I was doing that one day, I saw my granddaughter coming from her PE class, her dance class, and then I saw a boy chase after her and kick her in the back. She said just prior to that, he'd hit her with a hairbrush. So both of them spoke with their respective VPs. There was a no contact contract, yet he managed to walk around that campus, find her, and stand there staring at her every day, no matter what. And that finally intimidated her so much that she could not go back to school. She was at such a high anxiety level. She went on home hospital. I had to fight for that. It took through the first 2 weeks of fourth term before the district finally agreed to allow her to be on home hospital. It took until May 6th for a teacher to contact us to start teaching her. And then that person, when it got to May 31st, decided she was finished, and we thought she was going to come back for the extended school year. She was unable to make it back, so there are still several hours due my student, my granddaughter, for home hospital and for particularly focusing on junior second half of English and the second half of math. She's entitled to that education, and I'm expecting the district to take care of that. Whether it be finally coming up with another teacher during the summer, or whether it be providing extra tutoring throughout the year as she deals with her senior year level English and math. She's going to need help because she missed the content from fourth term. And just generally, the bullying that goes on in this district, I hear it and you've heard it meeting after meeting after meeting, what has happened. And while I applaud the PBIS, positive behavioral intervention strategies, I don't see how positive discipline is actually being incorporated into that process. that, okay, let's reward them when they do something good, but if they're basically acting out all the time and they're finding someone to pick on all the time, how do you stop that? How do teachers be aware of that? It was happening again in the science summer session that my granddaughter was enrolled in, that children in the classroom were bullying
Please wrap
a
up.
friend, and my time's up almost. But anyways, that child, my child, and another child had to drop out of that class. They were so offended by the lack of classroom management. Thank you.
Hey, Ms. Pryor?
Good evening. First, I want to start by saying thank you to Mr. Madison, and I see Ms. Espinoza, Chair Espinoza is not here, and Superintendent Hoffman for coming to the Black graduation celebration that we held on Sunday. It really meant a lot for the kids to see you there, and some of you even handed them some things, and they were talking about that afterwards. So I wanted to thank you for actually coming and letting your presence be known. But what I will say in regards to that is I think that one of the things I want to be a takeaway for the two of you is that there are certain traumas that our kids go through and that we have an obligation to set those things straight. We have an obligation to restore students who have been traumatized in our systems, in our education systems. What I noticed when I went back through the video of the last time I was here, I had passed around a book, and I noticed in the video, Mr. Hoffman, you didn't open the book. You just passed it right on, and I would like for you to look at that. I'm going to bring it back, and I want you to look at it, because there's not much difference what was going on at that time period and what's going on now, and we need to figure out how we're going to work together to solve that issue for Black students in your district. I've also heard from the Ferraro family, and they've had another incident of their daughter being called the N-word while on her campus, and this was last week or something like that. We have to get a handle on this, because this is something that they carry with them from this time forward. And I heard the mental health thing, the grant with the LGBTQ students. I think somebody needs to find a grant that's going to fund mental health services for Black students in this district dealing with certain traumas that are not being addressed effectively, or they're addressed later on down the line. I was talking to the young lady next to me back at the table. She's not comfortable getting up in front of you today, but what she said is, I wish that they would handle things when they happen. And so I want you to take that into account. Things need to start being addressed as they're happening. A question that I have for you is, I would like to know, what is the criteria for you awarding your equity partners? Because last week, I know there was one program that had some things going on. I'm not sure what was going on with the counseling team that they got an equity partner or a leader in educational equity. So I would like somebody to look into that and get me an answer for that. What I want to express to the district is that I don't want you to be complicit in the trauma faced by Black students. I can't have you to be complicit, because you don't see the tears, you don't see the parents' frustrations, you don't see the kids when they're at their lowest. And I want you to take that into consideration. Please don't be complicit. Thank you.
All right, Andrew Ramos?
Good evening, board members. It's been a while since I've been here. Hope you've all been doing well. I would just like to, first of all, thank you for passing the resolution on LGBTQ Pride Month, and for all the actions you've taken this year in particular to really signal to LGBTQ students and staff that you have their back and the community's back. That's really important. Locally in our community, we've seen the city, the CSD take those similar resolutions, proclamations, and participating along with you in the Pride Parade this year. And I think a lot of people within the LGBTQ community have really noticed that and I've heard folks in Sacramento talk about that. And so that's really, I think that presence is really important. Obviously, we live in California, and a lot of the, state law is very protective of civil rights protections. But I think one thing we haven't seen as much over the years in Elk Grove has been a lot of public statements so that folks know that our leaders have our back whenever any issue arises. And I think that's something that has been lacking. But I've really seen Elk Grove Unified and our city and CSD have really made statements to ensure that people know that proactively you're out there leading on this issue. And I think for students especially, as someone who's been in that situation, sometimes you feel invisible, and knowing that you have teachers, that you have administrators, that you have board members who, if you get bullied and you go to them, they're gonna believe you, they're gonna fight for you, they're gonna advocate for you. That really makes you feel and know that you're in a safe environment. And so I think even though it's a resolution, I think it's a statement that is really significant. And so I really want to recognize you for all that and thank you for showing that leadership. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to our consent agenda. Ms. Albioni.
I'd like to call for a motion to approve items 1 through 36.
And I'd like to pull item number 1, the policy.
Minus item number 1.
Okay, it's been moved in second that we approve items, 2 through 36, with item 1 pull. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, item 1.
Yes, I'm concerned about board policy 5141.6, school health services. It's my understanding the California School Board Association recommendations were to strike out a section of the policy, which I kind of disagree on, and I would like to read that policy. To further encourage students' access to health care services, the superintendent or designee shall develop and implement outreach strategies to increase enrollment of eligible students from low-income or moderate-income families in affordable, comprehensive state or federal health coverage program or local health initiatives. Such strategies may include, but are not limited to, providing information about Medi-Cal programs on the application for free and reduced price meals in accordance with the law. Again, many times I've come to the board and tried to get my fellow staff or board members to get on board with me to get more health services in our schools. And exiting this out of this policy I think is ridiculous. We need more services for our students, health care services, counseling for mental health counseling for these bulliers and these racist comments they're making to our students. And so, and I support, to support access to health care services, families may be referred to the district student support centers, but yet I personally feel, again, that we should have school health clinics or a mobile health clinic that goes around to different high schools, middle schools, and elementary schools to provide services. There is a great need. It improves ADA, it's proven fact. There's reports and research on that factor. Here's another report. Well, I got on this issue. The California School News, the latest one, April 2019, states, a new report finds police officers outnumber health staff in schools. Yes. A new report finds that more than 400,000 K-12 students in California attend a school that has a police officer on site, but not a school counselor, not a nurse.
Mr. Perez? this isn't on the agenda, what you're talking about.
I'm talking about this health
But let's
issue.
Let's stay focused to what you want here, the BP. That's
Okay,
what you want, not,
so-
don't read.
This is what, okay, this is what I'm saying is that it's needed, and I'm clarifying that even the California School Board Association has made a report, and and they want you to know that there's a great need in our schools. You know, it's on the health issue. Okay,
Could you
here's
read
another thing.
the words that replace what they struck out,
Okay,
Mr.
hold on.
Perez?
Yes, I did. In another example, there are 3 million students in schools with police patrolling the halls, but no nurses. Driven by fear of high-profile but rare school shootings, nearly half of the public schools nationally have law enforcement on campus, up from about 1%
Mr. Perez,
40 years ago.
okay.
Okay, yes, right. But yet, we need more counselors,
But we do
nurses.
have 'em.
So,
Okay, but let's get back to
Okay.
your
These are
point
board
here.
policies. You're talking about perhaps additional allocations, which as the appropriate time would be during our budget discussions.
This is,
When we go over not
I'm
a
just
board
bringing out
policy.
this report that I'd like you to read in the latest. Read this, please read this, and you might come to this board and support health services, counseling services for our students that we have the great need today.
You are so disrespectful by chastising us all the time. We know all that you speak of because we stay informed. We talk to the people who deliver. We work with the budget people. We ask our questions before the board meeting. We give the people who have to answer questions the consideration and the respect. We know all of this, Tony. Maybe you have a big checkbook and you can write a check. Every one of us would like to have more of most of what we provide. I sit on Valley High School Health Tech Committee. We talk about the health center. We talk about the needs of the communities. We're not stupid, and we're not uninvolved. Grow up.
Okay, your point then, after, are you finished with the BP then?
No, I have not finished.
Okay.
Like I said, California has matched these trends or outplaced them. The state student to council ratio is 682 to 1. So yes.
Yeah,
So anyway,
okay,
I like that bring to your attention.
okay.
A lot of talk, but no action on supporting our students.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move the approval for board policy on the consent agenda.
Board policy number 1.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Oppose?
I oppose it because of the language.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, we have any bargaining units here? Don't see any. Quiet, okay. Okay, I want to call a public hearing of the Elk Grove Unified School District's annual service delivery budget plan for special education. Mr. Doug Phillips. Mr. Perez? Mr. Perez, we're in a formal setting here. Can you take your seat back? Go ahead.
Good evening, President Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos. I'm requesting the board to open a public hearing for the Elk Grove Unified School District's 2019-20 Special Education Annual Service Delivery and Budget Plan.
Okay, are you going to have a presentation, or?
I do not have a presentation.
Okay,
This is part 1 of 2, where we open it up for response.
I see. Okay, I want to call for a public hearing to anyone who wishes to comment on the district's annual service delivery on the budget plan of special education. Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and announce this item will be presented to the board for adoption on the July 23rd, 2019 board meeting.
Fantastic, and I'll see you in July. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, adoption of the Elk Grove Unified School District Local Control Accountability Plan, Mr. Cerruti.
Thank you and good evening, President Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos. I respectfully request the board give consideration for the approval of the 2019-2020 Elk Grove Unified School District's Local Control Accountability Plan.
Okay. I want to call for a motion to adopt the Elk Grove Unified School District's LCAP for the 2019-20 school year.
I move approval.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Just recently, we received our spring federal program monitoring review and stated that there's a lot of issues within our program, especially the English language learners program, and it has some issues that we need to correct. So my question is, does this report reflect any changes as a result of the new report we received from the state?
No, and I'll respond to that, and then Ms. Larson, if there's anything specific that you think that I miss. The FPM process, something that we go through, while ideally we would have no findings, and we take all those findings very, very seriously. They're typically procedural in nature and could be actually isolated to a given school site. So the majority of those findings have already been resolved. And I would just say that a district of our size with the number of findings that we have, we're far, far, far below. So I'm not making excuses. Any finding we have, we take very seriously. But we typically go through the process and we're able to resolve those matters very, very quickly. So there's nothing in the LCAP. There isn't any FPM finding that we had to go back into our LCAP and programmatically change.
Okay.
Sue, did I miss anything? Yeah, it's typically procedural matters, and it can be depending upon the program because they go to specific school sites, and then we examine them in terms of was it a site-based matter or a district-wide matter, and most have been resolved.
So what you're saying is that, so in order to resolve these particular issues that the state of California presented to us, there's no financial impact?
Oh, I'm sorry. If the question was, are they going to be holding back funds until we resolve all these?
Well, that too, but
the answer is no. That isn't what they will do. And in fact, those matters, for the most part, have been resolved, and we have a specific timeline by which we resolve all of those matters.
But what about the actual sites? Now, do we have to follow through on those sites, develop programs of corrections to these? And will it cost us? Is there a cost for those corrections?
No, and it's not. And again, Sue, if I'm getting anything inaccurate, the procedural changes will not have a cost attached to them. That isn't what this isn't. For example, an examination of our of a specific program at a school or a district-wide program involving teaching, learning, and curriculum, and we have to change that.
Right.
That's not what these findings are at all. These are procedural findings, meaning potentially how we're tracking a specific data point or some of those types of things. And we find these errors and we fix them.
Yes, I agree with you. There were some procedural, but there were some site programs that needed attention and to resolve some issues that they presented.
Sue, do you want to respond to that at all? I don't mean to put you on the spot. I don't have...
The English language learner programs. Okay. Well, in the report, it doesn't say the site, so I can't refer to the site, but the program was English language learners that we need to improve services to them.
So I can give you one example of,
Right.
It's a procedural piece that we'll be doing next year, and it's around course placement for ELs.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've adjusted the way we're working on course placement for all of our ELs and also our struggling reclassified students. That's as a result of our audit and working with CDE, so we're making some adjustments in course placement in middle and high school. So those kinds of things, that there's not a cost associated with them, but it's procedural, as Mark said, part of the program that we're making some shifts.
So in other words, the bottom line, this report's not going to have a budget correction to the LCAP?
No.
No, okay, it won't affect that.
No.
It's,
Okay.
okay, there was another issue regarding, I could talk to that, to the superintendent. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All righty, we had a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Go, it's been moved in second. I think Carmen moved it, and second by Ms. Albiani. All those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Rudy, we'll stay up and we'll get the local control accountability plan for the federal addendum.
Thank you, President Madison. I respectfully request the board give consideration to approving the district's federal addendum to our LCAP.
On a motion to adopt the Elk Grove Unified School District Local Control Funding Accountability Plan Federal Addendum for the 2019-20 school year.
I have a question.
It's been moved in second. Yes, Mr. Perez.
Could you give me a little bit more history of this federal program?
Let me ask you this, Mr. Perez. We got a BC explaining
Right.
detail about that federal program.
Right, I know that.
Okay. To me, it was pretty clear.
Right, I know.
Why, what's your, you didn't quite understand the BC?
Yes, Did
you call
I just want some clarification. Could you tell me how that evolved?
How the addendum evolved?
Right,
So this is new. So at the last presentation, when I shared information about, and typically I share information at the point when we're bringing it for a public hearing, and I share a bit of information, and I shared a few of the changes that took place. There were template changes, and this was another change. So this is new. And what this is there's no numbers in this. Here's the document right here. So this isn't something that has a lot of budget information in it. It's an opportunity for us to provide a narrative in terms of how federal dollars and our federal monies align with and support the work that our state monies provide. So the federal monies and the federal addendum does not drive decisions as it relates to our LCAP. This is an opportunity to look for alignment. And we have considerable alignment in how we approach things. And so it's an effort, quite frankly, and I think it's a good effort, to make sure that as we're getting these substantial pots of money, that we're thinking cohesively and coherently. So we're using it to maximize the services that we have versus we do 10 things with this pot of money and we do 10 different things with this pot of money.
For instance, for Title I, correct?
This does Title I,
Right.
Title II, Title III, and Title IV are all covered in the addendum. And there's a series of questions and prompts, and there's actually a limit to the number of characters that we can respond to. So this thing is, we have to be very, very succinct in terms of the responses that we make, because it's deliberately not intended to be another 150-page document.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Did we call for a motion on that? We have a first and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved, against? Seeing none, it's approved. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we have the Charter School Local Control Accountability Plan. Mr. Murray and Mr. Mark Levine.
Thank you, President Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos. At this time, Mr. Levine and I respectfully request consideration for your approval of the adoption of the Elk Grove Charter Schools 2019-2020 Local Control Accountability Plan.
Okay, I'd like to call for a motion to adopt the Elk Grove Charter School Local Control Accountability Plan for the 2019-20 school year.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Adopted budget, Mrs. Shannon Hayes.
Good evening, President Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos. I respectfully request the board take action to approve the 2019-20 adopted budget.
I want to call for a motion to approve the 2019-20 adopted budget.
So moved.
Second it.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Dave Riley, a resolution to eliminate a classified position.
Good evening, President Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, Ms. Avalos. The board is asked to adopt the attached resolution to eliminate a classified position due to lack of work, lack of funds pursuant to Education Code Sections 45114, 45298, 45308, and 45117. I will add that this is elimination of a position in my department. There's natural attrition. Everyone's taken care of. We're just realigning ourselves to meet the needs of the district.
Thank you. I want to call for a motion to adopt resolution number 69, authorizing the governing board to eliminate a classified position.
Move approval of resolution number 69.
It's been second. Ms. Albiani, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Riley, we'll have amendment agreements for non-represented employees.
Yes. Whereas the majority of our employees in the district move from step to step without explicit board action due to recent legislation, SB 1436, that went into effect January 1, 2017, it requires that a verbal summary of the proposed compensation be given to the public prior to board action on the contract, and that's Government Code Section 54953. Therefore, California Government Code Section 54953C3 requires that a verbal summary of the proposed compensation and fringe benefits be given to the public prior to final board action on certain employment agreements. The agreements and amendment agreements previously approved by the board in June 2018 for 1, Deputy Superintendent Business Services and Facilities, 2, Deputy Superintendent Education Services and Schools, 3, Associate Superintendent Human Resources, 4, Chief Financial Officer, 5, Chief Technology Officer, 6, Assistant Superintendent Elementary, and 7, Assistant Superintendent Secondary, provide that upon the receipt of a satisfactory evaluation and board action in open session, the term of their employment agreement shall be extended by 1 year. They shall move 1 step on their respective salary schedule unless they are on the top step of their salary schedule or on a 2-year step, and their salary schedule shall be increased by the same increase provided to other district employees. Whereas all eligible represented employees in the district automatically receive eligible step and column advances effective July 1, step advances for unrepresentative contracted employees must be approved by the board in open session at a regular school board meeting. Accordingly, the proposed Third Amendment employment agreements for the 1, Deputy Superintendent Business Services and Facilities, 2, Associate Superintendent Human Resources, and 3, Chief Financial Officer, and the proposed Second Amendment employment agreement for the 1, Deputy Superintendent Education Services and Schools, and the proposed First Amendment employment agreements for the 1, Chief Technology Officer, 2, Assistant Superintendent Elementary, and 3, Assistant Superintendent Secondary, contain the following material terms. 1, the term of the proposed amended employment agreements for 1, Deputy Superintendent Business Services and Facilities, 2, Deputy Superintendent Education Services and Schools, 3, Associate Superintendent Human Resources, 4, Chief Financial Officer, 5, Chief Technology Officer, 6, Assistant Superintendent Elementary, and 7, Assistant Superintendent Secondary, shall be extended by 1 year to June 30, 2022. 2, compensation. Their salary schedule shall align with the step increment structure included in the EG team's salary schedules. As a result, the following constitutes each employee's base salary effective July 1, 2019. A, the Deputy Superintendent of Education Services and Schools is currently on Step 5 of the Deputy Superintendent salary schedule. Effective July 1, 2019, his base salary at steps 6 and 7 shall be $244,180. B, the Deputy Superintendent of Business Services and Facilities is currently placed on step 6 and 7 of the Deputy Superintendent salary schedule. Effective July 1, 2018, his base salary at steps 6 and 7 shall be $244,180. C, the Associate Superintendent of Human Resources is currently on steps 6 and 7 of the Associate Superintendent salary schedule. Effective on July 1, 2019, his base salary at steps 8 and 9 shall be $220,537. D, the Chief Financial Officer is currently placed on step 5 of the Chief Financial Officer salary schedule. Effective July 1, 2019, her base salary at steps 6 and 7 shall be $169,865. E, the Chief Technology Officer is currently placed on step 4 of the Chief Technology Officer salary schedule. Effective July 1, 2019, his base salary at step 5 shall be $164,279. F, the Assistant Superintendents of Schools Elementary is currently placed on step 4 of the Assistant Superintendent salary schedule. Effective July 1, 2019, her base salary at step 5 shall be $168,180. G, the Assistant Superintendent of Schools Secondary is currently placed on step 4 of the Assistant Superintendent salary schedule. Effective July 1, 2019, his base salary at step 5 shall be $168,180. Excuse me. 3, the Deputy Superintendent Business Services and Facilities, 2, Deputy Superintendent Ed Services and Schools, 3, Associate Superintendent Human Resources, and 4, Chief Financial Officer, 5, Chief Technology Officer, 6, Assistant Superintendent Elementary, and 7, Assistant Superintendent Secondary will continue to receive the same health and welfare benefits and retiree benefits as other district certificated employees, as those benefits may change from time to time. This concludes the summary of the third amendment to the employment agreements for 1, Deputy Superintendent of Business Services and Facilities, 2, Associate Superintendent of Human Resources, 3, Chief Financial Officer, and Second Amendment employment agreement for 1, Deputy Superintendent Education Services and Schools, and the First Amendment to the Chief Technology Officer, 2, Assistant Superintendent Elementary, and 3, Assistant Superintendent Secondary. Copies of contracts are available at this meeting.
Okay, thank you. I want to call for a motion to approve the non-representative employee agreement and amendments to certain non-representative employees' agreements.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved in second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, the third amendment to superintendent's employment agreement, Mr. Riley?
Yes. This item is the board's discussion and possible approval of the third amendment to the superintendent's employment agreement. SB 1436 requires, pursuant to California Government Code Section 54953C3, that a verbal summary of the proposed compensation and fringe benefits be given to the public prior to final board action on an employment agreement. Superintendent Hoffman's current employment agreement approved in June 2016 by the board provides that upon the receipt of a satisfactory evaluation excuse me, and board action in open session, the term of the employment agreement shall be extended by 1 year. The superintendent shall move one step on the superintendent's salary schedule, and the superintendent's salary schedule shall be increased by the same increase provided to other district employees. Whereas all eligible represented employees in the district automatically receive step and column advances effective July 1, step advances for unrepresented contracted employees must be approved by the board in open session at a regular school board meeting. Accordingly, the proposed third amendment to the superintendent's employment agreement contains the following material items. 1, the term of the superintendent's agreement shall be extended by 1 year to June 30, 2023. 2, the superintendent's salary schedule shall align with the step increments structured included in the EG team's salary schedules. 3, effective July 1, 2019, superintendent shall move to step 6 and 7 of the superintendent's salary schedule, and his annual base salary shall be $363,331. This concludes the summary of the third amendment to the superintendent's employment agreement. Copies are available at this meeting.
Okay, I want to call for a motion to approve the third amendment to the superintendent's employment agreement.
Move approval, the Third Amendment.
It's been moved in second, Ms. Albiani, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, board members and superintendent reports. Mr. Hoffman, any?
I'll talk about pie.
Okay.
I have.
Ms. St. Allen?
Yes. Partners in Education met last week, and we went over the upcoming Arbinger training. The most important walkaway for me was that we are working actively towards figuring out a solution on training for limited English-speaking employees, since that is an area that we obviously have a need given our diversity. And so we don't have the solution identified just yet, but we're putting together some creative minds and working through finding a solution to address that group. In either, bilingual teaching of the trainers or what have you. So we'll have more updates on that, but I like that we are actually identifying limited English-speaking employees to go through the training as well. That's the biggest takeaway. We've talked about upcoming meetings and changes to membership and our dates, but I think that was probably the most important part.
And your meeting, is that once a month?
Yeah, once a month.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? No. Okay. I would just want to report out on the Elk Grove Regional Scholarship Foundation, Bounty on the Boulevard. I think we netted around $73,000. It came out, so it was well attended and success when it came to raising funds for future scholarships. Okay, then other items on the floor. Mr. Fortuna.
Yes, a few meetings ago, we closed the meeting in the name of Ethan Michael Rossi, and I would just like to mention tonight that Ethan did pass away last week, and a memorial is going to be held for him this Sunday.
Thank you for that information. Ms. St. Allen?
Thank you. So before coming to the meeting, I had an opportunity to stop by Herberger Chapel to pay tribute to our fallen officer from Sacramento, Officer Tara O'Sullivan. I want to say that I'm proud of our community for lining Elk Grove Boulevard with blue ribbons in her honor in preparation for Thursday's procession to her services. There was a wonderful tribute that rolls, so if anybody has an opportunity to pay respects, I do. It's painful to watch. She was an amazing young lady, life taken at the tender age of 26. The video captures her celebrating life like any 26-year-old would. So I would like to ask the board to adjourn in her memory.
Thank you. Anyone else has? Okay, Mr. Hoffman? Okay, we will adjourn the meeting at 7 o'clock in honor of Mrs. Sullivan.